Hello there, and my name is Robert Taylor, and today I'm going to be talking about being a cameraman. And joining me today is Mr. Smith. So how are
Hi.
you doing, Mr. Smith?
I'm doing good today. Thanks for inviting me out to talk to you. This is kind of cool.
Okay. First question. Why did you choose this career?
Why did I choose this career? Boy, that is a good question. Honestly, Robbie, it's something that I've kind of wanted to do for much of my life. It's something involved in TV, including being a cameraman. I didn't know if I wanted to be like on TV or behind the scenes, but I always kind of was like really into the videography and I'd love to used to, when I was your age, I used to make my parents, like, I'd watch the news and I would see a fire or something going on. I'd make my parents get in the car and drive me out there so I could like see the news. I didn't want to see the fire, but I wanted to see the news crews in action and stuff. So it was something it's kind of a passion I've had for most of my life, let's say.
Huh. I know if I tried to do that with my parents, it would just like, go get your own car.
That's right. Well, my parents were kind of nuts like me, so, you know.
Okay, what college did you go to and what did you major in?
Okay, I went to Kent State University in Ohio, in Kent, Ohio, near Akron, and I majored in radio television production. And I worked today at a campus television station, which we did the news there, and I got to do everything from anchor the news to do the audio, to the cameras, to do weather. I did everything. I produced. You learn a little bit of every aspect of television production and news making. So it was kind of cool. It was a great learning experience, and it helped me do what I do today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. How did you get started at kdka and how long have you been there?
I have been there now 10 years, just about 10 years. I started 2005. In the summer, and so yeah, just coming up on my 10th year. I got to kdka. First of all, after I left college, I had an internship at a station called Fox 8 in Cleveland, WJW. That turned into a full-time job after a year. So I was up there doing all kind of things. I was doing floor directing, and I was making those graphics they put on the screen called chyrons, and that learned it. And then I started directing the news, which is I was in the control room telling everyone what to do eventually, which is what I thought I kind of wanted to do. So then I moved on to a station in Toledo, Ohio, where I could do it Monday through Friday, like kind of even though it's a smaller market, it was a better opportunity. So I did that, but they only had one newscast open for me, so they needed me to do something else. And they were like, well, we need a photographer. Have you ever done that? And I had never done it before. I'd never been behind a camera. And I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. Yeah. So I found a photographer at my station in Cleveland to show me how to do it, at least how to work the camera, so I could didn't look like too much of a fool. But as I went up to Toledo and did that, I found that I enjoyed doing the camera work much more than directing. So eventually I went to my boss and I'd like to be a full-time photographer, and he's like, well, we can't really do that because we need you directing. And so I started looking for jobs, and I also, it's around the same time my first daughter was born, so we were kind of looking to leave and go to either Cleveland or Pittsburgh, where we had family. My wife is from Cleveland, I'm from here, so kdka's job opened up, and here I am, and hopefully I'll retire here. I plan to leave Pittsburgh, so yeah.
It's pretty interesting. Little background history.
Yeah.
Okay. What type of equipment do you use?
Well, we've used a variety over the years. Technology, one thing in television and any of the electronic medium is it's constantly changing. It's when I started, and which doesn't seem like that long ago. I guess it's been 20 years now, but we used beta. We used tape that was called beta, which if people remember. Your parents will remember back in the early 80s, beta was kind of was what you used to use. Some people used at home for their recording, like on their VCRs, but it kind of went away, like it became kind of a joke. But in TV and in news making, it continued on because it's a great format. But eventually that went away for digital tape, which was called DVC Pro. And now today we've gotten rid of tapes. All the stations have gotten rid of tapes. We use hard drive, little cards about this big, and each one holds 144 minutes of video, high definition video. And they're just two little cards, and that's what I use. I use a Sony. There's a variety of cameras, but I use a Sony camera called an XD cam, which is really popular in news making and stuff. And And that's what I use. And I use a variety of different kind of microphones and things to go along with it. It's a variety of stuff. But the technology is changing so much, and I guess that's what who knows in 5 more years what we'll be using and stuff. So.
Okay, how heavy is your equipment?
It's gotten lighter over the years, believe it or not. It's because the old cameras that used the tapes, they had a big, heavy tape deck in them that weighed a lot. But now it's gotten lighter, even though the camera's about the same size. It's about, in that sense, it's going to sound heavy, but it's about 27 pounds of the camera. But a lot of that's in the lens and stuff. But it balances on your shoulder nice and stuff, But as we were talking, the camera you're recording this on is much smaller. It's about this big, and that's the way it's kind of going, because you don't need the big camera anymore. You can get the little one, and it records just as good a video. And they're using that for reality shows and all these things where you kind of have to move around a lot, so where you need something lighter. But, yeah, so it's 27, but it balances nice, so I'm used to it. Yeah.
Okay. What is the farthest you have gone for a story?
Furthest I've gone for a story. Let's see. I've been all around. At KDK, I've been traveling all around the country. I've been to New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005. I've been to Los Angeles for a story. I've been to Seattle. Seattle's probably the furthest I've been for a story. I've been to Canada, but that wasn't as far, even though it's another country. I was just up in Ontario. So yeah, probably Seattle's the furthest I've been for when the Steelers were in the Super Bowl. We went out to Seattle to talk to people out there about their team and their city, and learn all about Seattle and stuff. So that's probably the furthest I've been. But I've been all around. I've been almost every part of the country at some point. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, how many people do you need for a story?
We use mostly 2-man crews, usually just a reporter and a photographer. And usually, as a photographer, I do all the editing. And I usually, like if we're out, I run the live truck. We have 2 kinds of live trucks: a microwave truck, which has a mast you'll see, and it goes and it aims at like a receiver downtown or something. And then we have a satellite truck, the big dish, and that shoots the space. Sometimes if we use those, we actually need a 3rd person to run that truck. Even though we've done it without that. But I run both kind of trucks, and I do the editing and stuff like that. So mostly it's 2-man crews, but around the country, a lot of stations are just using one. They're calling them one-man bands or MMJs, mass media journalists, where they do the photography, and then they'll set it up like this, and then they'll point it at themselves, and they'll do the talking too. So hopefully I don't get to that point. hopefully it stays like it is now for me. Yeah.
Okay. What story has stuck with you?
Boy, that's a good question. I would say, one of my first stories at KDK was Hurricane Katrina in 2005, and that was just that was one that kind of haunts me.